All right. Councilor Garcia, you are now live on YouTube. It looks like all the attendees are in the room. I will stay on for a few moments and then I will pass it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the BTAC meeting for December 10th to order. Can I get a roll call, please, Ms. Glorioso Mas?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yolanda Eisenstein.
Here.
Bruce Finger.
Here.
Judith Gabriel.
Here.
Robert Merlino.
Here.
Sid Redner.
Here.
Yvette Serrano.
Here.
Khalil Spencer.
Here.
Sky Tolman.
Here.
Chair Michael Garcia.
Present.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Next, we have is approval of agenda. Do we have any changes from staff for the agenda?
None from the staff, Mr. Chair.
Okay. How about any of the committee members? Any changes of the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Okay. So moved by committee member Redner.
I'll second that.
Okay, second from committee member Tallman. Any discussion? Hearing none. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Ms. Glorioso Mas?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Member Eisenstein.
Approve.
Member Finger.
Approve.
Member Gabriel.
Approve.
Member Merlino.
Approve, yes.
Member Redner.
Approve.
Member Serrano.
Approved.
Member Spencer.
Approve.
Member Tolman.
Approve.
Chair Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is approval of our November 12th meeting minutes. Are there any changes to the meeting minutes that were our last meeting on November 12th? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion for approval of the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second.
Mr. Chair, who is the
Yes.
seconder?
Cal.
Seconder, what? Cal.
Cal. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, absolutely. Any discussion? Hearing none, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Member Eisenstein.
Yes, approve.
Member Finger.
Approved.
Member Gabriel.
Approve.
Member Merlino.
Yes.
Member Redner.
Yes.
Member Serrano.
Approve.
Member Spencer.
Yes.
Member Tolman.
Yes.
Chair Garcia.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Next on the agenda, we have communications from the floor. So if we have any committee members who would like to speak now, please raise your hand and I can go ahead and allow you to have the floor. Quick check-in for housekeeping. Christine, do I have privileges? I do not see that I do not see any hands up from any of the participants. How about we do it this way, since I can't tell if we do have a community member who would like to speak from the floor, please go ahead and just unmute yourself and state your name. Okay, I don't think we have any communications from the floor right now. Next item on the agenda is communications from other agencies. Eric, are you on the line with us?
I am. Good evening,
Great.
everyone.
Awesome. The floor is yours, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I just have a few brief updates, knowing you have kind of a full agenda tonight. At the last meeting, there was an interest in having a briefing provided by us as it relates to our website and its functionality. So what we're proposing to do, instead of take your time tonight or during a busy meeting, is we will schedule about 30-minute sessions, and we'll be sending an invite to Ramella to then communicate with each of you as to your desire to sit in on a 30-minute meeting. We can walk through the website and what it offers and what it informs. So we will be sending that. Look forward to that. Last night, the City Council approved a contract for a multimodal study, and that includes public transit service plan update, as well as a really focused look at policies and on-the-ground infrastructure that can promote walkability, bikeability, using transit. We will be having a kickoff meeting with consultants and the city, supporting the city, come mid-January. We'll be happy to inform Ramella, as she'll be part of that, to inform you, to be stakeholders at your desire for this, what will be probably a 2-year process. And then we're also, again, moving forward with supporting the city with the Safe Routes to School. We're working on finalizing a contract with Tim Rogers and Santa Fe Conservation Trust, which we're very happy they were awarded that project, which we mentioned, I believe. That's moving forward. And for matters of this meeting, I'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Eric. Do any committee members have any questions? I do not see any at the moment. If I still don't see that I potentially have privileges. So if you do have a question, any of the committee members have a question, please go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask your question. All right, I think no questions for you tonight, Eric. Just looking forward to, I think what we can do is, or actually mine's more so a comment, not necessarily a question. I think what we can do is work with Ramella offline to schedule a time to have that presentation be given to the committee. I know that our agendas have been pretty packed since we resumed meetings, and I think that was due to the lack of meetings. So I'm hoping that into 2021, they won't be as condensed and consolidated, because I do want to include presentations such as from you and from Tim and any other interested community member, where we can have presentations and be able to accommodate that. So let's you, I, and Ramella work to schedule that, and we can make sure that happens. Okay, well, thank you so much, Eric. Have a great rest of your evening. Next on the agenda, we have moving into 7A, discussions and possible action items. First item is seeking comments and suggestions on conceptual design of Harrison Road lighting and sidewalk improvements project. And for that, we have Jeanette Walther. Jeanette, are you on with us?
I am. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm working, so I'm with Bohannon Houston, and I'm working with the city of Santa Fe on a lighting study for Harrison Road. Harrison goes from Cerrillos Road to Agua Fria on the north. It's an existing right-of-way with that's already got 28 feet of road, curb, and gutter. There are some road or some road and utility easements or pedestrian access easements along the road, but not in all areas. So some right-of-way will be needed for this project. The proposed improvement is to increase the street lighting and to put in a 5-foot sidewalk on the west side of the road to fill in the gaps between the existing sidewalk. The road is about 3,400 feet long, and they only need approximately 1,400 feet of new sidewalk to fill in the gaps. Though some of those areas are challenging. We're looking at the west side of the road because the east side of the road is where the majority of the utilities are, including the power line. Most of the existing sidewalk that's there is in good condition and ADA accessible. We laid a level on it. They would only need detectable warning surfaces at the ramps at the driveways, but even the driveways that are already built are ADA accessible. There is one ADA ramp at Agua Fria that would need to be revised. We would need to lengthen one side to match the grade of the road. Let's see, and then we're also looking at streetlight improvements. I'm coordinating with P&M to see if we can add some more streetlights to the poles that are out there, and also to add, and then we're looking at potentially adding a few freestanding lights on the west side where there's room. So that sort of summarizes it. I believe that you have a figure. I can pull that up if there's any questions.
Excuse me, I have a question. May I ask? May I go ahead and ask?
Am I in control? Yes.
Yeah, okay. No, so I mean, I'm not that familiar with the area, and I see that, like, you know, there's not that many roads that go straight through between Cerrillos and Agua Fria. There's Osage, there's Mayes, there's Harrison. You know, and so why Harrison as opposed to Mayes, or like why that road as opposed to any other road?
Do you want to address that, Romella?
That's one of the priority projects of Councilor Lindell and Villarreal. Each councilor has priority projects, and that's one of their priority projects.
Okay.
And then also there is a Pete's Place on the corner of Cerrillos Road, which draws a lot of the homeless population. So there are a lot of pedestrians that hang out on the street right there. So we're looking at, you know, if there's a sidewalk, they will be able to be on the sidewalk instead. We will potentially, we would have to narrow up the street by just a couple of feet in that area, even to fit in a 4-foot sidewalk. They have a big iron gate around the property and it takes up a lot of room.
Okay, it was more just a point of curiosity than anything else. Thank you.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
Sure.
I mean,
Committee member Cal, floor is yours.
it was pointed out that by Jeanette Walther that that's a priority project, or by Ramel, I forget who. But is there a more detailed rationale why it's a priority project? Also, because we've had quite a bit of in the newspapers about the homeless folks, or at least some of them from Pete's Place going down into that area and apparently annoying the neighbors. Will this create a more of a nuisance to the neighborhood by encouraging people that say have been kicked out of Pete's Place to go down into that area? So what's the big picture?
And maybe I can answer that, committee member Spencer, just because I know that I've been part of discussions on this. And so as Ms. Glorioso Moss mentioned, each councilor or district has their kind of priority areas. And I think it was at our last meeting, the priority area for District 2 is Pacheco area, in particular the North Pacheco area of San Mateo area north, where there's the lack of infrastructure of sidewalks. And so the two counselors from District 1, this has been a priority area for them for quite some time, as I understand, that they're, because of that lack of infrastructure of sidewalks and lighting, they want that addressed. And I'm sure there's going to be other areas once that area is addressed. I mean, committee member Redner brought up Maze Road. I don't know what their next priority area will be. In regards to, will it bring more populace and more congregation? I think from what we've heard from the community is they've asked for the lighting because they feel it could help to be a deterrent to crime in some senses. And so with that, the intentions are that it won't. It will actually be a deterrent. It'll be an overall improvement for community safety.
That would seem to be one area where we need that because it has been a problem. But I guess, you know, that's a perfectly good rationale given the problems they've had down there. Sort of the deeper question was, is there an engineering basis or some sort of content, you know, politically neutral basis for how we pick the high priorities? I know up in Los Alamos a few years ago, the PEs and the transportation department went out and essentially evaluated all the sidewalks, all the roads, and rated them, say, A through D, where D was awful and A was great, and tried to come up with a rationale independent of our county council as to where we needed to fix stuff first. Do we have something like that down here, or is it primarily seat of the pants?
We do. We work closely with our public works team, such as Ms. Glorioso Mas, on these projects, and we list the projects as priority areas. And it's also dependent on funding, the cost of what the project would be. You know, because I'm sure there are some projects that might be deemed a higher priority, but the cost is 10 times as much. So it's all in the sense we've got to critically think, what is the high priority? What can we get done with the appropriations through the state legislature and accomplish a goal? So it is not just a political decision, so to speak. It is there is strategic decisions made in tandem with city staff.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Sure, absolutely, Eric.
Yeah, this may be helpful. The MPO worked with the city to help establish a prioritization program for pedestrian improvements, specifically sidewalks. Now, what that did was compile multiple studies that including there was a bus stop assessment, there was the ADA retrofit assessment, there was the pedestrian plan. It took data from all those in an objective fashion and created a prioritization process for the city public works to look at deficient, absent sidewalks. I know Ramela is relatively new and we're going to be informing her how that project worked, but I would submit that Harrison Road was a key one from that very objective process. And we'd be happy to give this committee more information about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, for that additional information. Did that answer the question, committee member Spencer?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Eric.
Sure, absolutely. Any other questions for Jeanette? Committee member Tillman.
It looks like this is a great project. So thank you for taking this on, Jeanette. I was going to ask two questions. One is about the curb radius at Agua Fria. Like, is there any possibility that could be narrowed? Because it's quite a wide curve to encourage really fast turning speeds.
Well, the only thing is this project doesn't include any paving.
Okay. And the other one was about the height of the lighting. Is like the current lighting, there are these street lights that are sort of at automobile height. They're 40 feet in the air or something. Are you going to have like pedestrian scale lighting, or is it going to be kind of high lighting, or is that still undetermined?
It's going to be highlighting. I believe it's 30 feet high because this is more of a, collector street, residential, commercial.
Okay, so the lighting is more for vehicles than for pedestrians.
More for vehicles, but I've gone out there at night and looked at it, and there are some areas that are just very dark. So we're trying to eliminate those dark spots and get rid of the creepiness factor of you're in a bright area and then, you have to walk into the dark.
Right. And would you consider pedestrian scale lighting?
There really isn't a place to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's very few places where we could put lights except on the existing P&M poles.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Committee Member Tillman. Any other questions? Looked like I had the hand function working now, so if you do have a question, just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get that answered. It seems like there's none. Well, thank you, Ms. Walther, for working on this project. I know that it's very important to my colleagues in District 1, and we definitely look forward to the improvement of the area.
Thank you.
Would it be okay if any of the committee members have any comments beyond tonight's meeting to just reach out to you and provide their feedback?
Yes, they can do that, or reach me through Ramella.
Okay, great. Any last comments? Oh, sorry. Yes.
Do we have any committee members who are from that immediate area? Because I have to admit that it's not my corner of the world, so I didn't mean to be obnoxious with my questions. It was just a matter of the policy of how these projects were put to the top. But do any of our committee members, are they really, really familiar with that area more than, say, those of us in the first district?
Any committee members that live directly there? That is District 1. It's kind of right there on the border of District 1 is the north side of Cerrillos. District 4 is on the south side of Cerrillos. I do see a hand up from Ms. Wexler.
Thanks for that acknowledgement, Cal. I live very close. I live on Lujan Street and often ride my bike over, or sometimes even walk over that way. And I think I'm in concurrence with the neighborhood, belief that for those of us who live around here, it is a high priority. So I appreciate the councilor's efforts to make improvements over there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wexler, for the feedback. Any other comments?
I have a question. I guess what's the time frame of the project, and is that going to affect interfaith, just the operation of that? Or?
So we're putting in a proposal to do final design. It has to go through the NMDOT process because it has legislative funding. So it is going to take a while. We have to do the environmental clearance and everything. So I would think that hopefully it can go to construction maybe in the fall.
Okay, any other questions? I see Gary Schiffmiller. Gary Schiffmiller, feel free to ask your question.
Hi, I'm not a committee member, but I'm a subcommittee member. I hope it's okay that I can suggest this. I have a friend who lives on Harrison. She lives right next to the pedestrian pathway that goes from Harrison over to the park on Cienega. And she tells me that she fairly often sees someone drive their truck down that pedestrian pathway between Cienegita and Harrison. And perhaps a bollard would help alleviate that situation, a bollard on either end.
That's good information. We'll look into that.
Thank you, Mr. Schiffmiller, for bringing that up. Any other comments and questions for Ms. Walther? Okay, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us tonight.
Great, thank you, Counselor. Thanks, committee members. Right, bye-bye.
Oh. Okay, next item on our agenda is item B, subcommittee membership resignations. I think it might be from Yolanda Einstein from Planning and Funding Subcommittee and Sky Tellman from Law and Policy Subcommittee. So committee members Eisenstein and Tellman, the floor is yours.
Yes. So in order to eliminate the possibility of a rolling quorum, I am going to resign from the Planning and Funding Subcommittee effective immediately.
Okay. And so Ms. Glorioso Mas, we can fill that seat with a community member, can we not?
Yeah, but the suggestion of Jesse Guillen, there should be no BTAC member who's a member of two subcommittees to eliminate the chance of rolling quorum. So,
right.
Yeah. When we expand our membership from 8 to 9, then we will have more committee members to be members of other subcommittees.
Okay. So thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. And I'm sorry, Ms. Eisenstein, if that puts you in a predicament if you wanted to serve on that committee, but you know, should the proposed resolution changes take effect, and that might allow for BTAC committee members to serve on committees. So but we can look into that.
Okay.
As we know, the resolution is going through governing body right now.
Okay.
Miss Committee Member Tallman.
Well, I suppose I'm in the same quandary, so there's only one thing to do. I'll resign from the Law and Policy Subcommittee.
Okay. Thank you for that. And again, I do apologize that put us in a predicament, and we'll figure out how to make things work without getting into a rolling quorum. That was, I'm assuming, the rest of that agenda item. Or is there any matters to be discussed on that?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Next item is 7C. Law and Policy Subcommittee's recommended changes for approval to the draft BTAC 2021 Strategic Work Plan. Ms. Eisenstein, the chair, the floor is yours again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me, I seem to be losing my voice. We've had a few meetings with the Law and Policy Subcommittee, and we would like to propose that we move forward on the strategic plan. And we had just a few additions as far as strategies that we wanted to present for discussion and or approval. One is the issue of partnerships. And this is something that Promotion and Education brought up as well. We really think it's important that we pursue partnerships next year. And I had talked with and sent an email to Leah with Metroplex Planning, and she sent me a list of partnerships that they currently have. And so what we're thinking is if we could go ahead and get partnerships as a strategy, which would be ongoing throughout the year. I can put together a list of the organizations that they currently have partnerships, a brief description of what they do, and then going forward, we can, as subcommittees, take on various partnerships and decide how we want to work with various groups to educate, market, communicate what we're doing. So that was one of the strategies that we wanted to add to the strategic plan. Second, we wanted to add the strategy of finishing and maintaining the website. We think that's a good way to communicate what BTAC is doing. And we thought that that would certainly be an ongoing strategy throughout the year as well. Third, we talked about signage, and this is more of a sort of consolidation of the signage issues. We have several things going on. I know the last couple of meetings we were talking about wayfinding, and then we were talking about bikes may use full lane, and we're talking about resolutions. And so this is just basically a suggestion that we have an umbrella strategy for signage so that everything related to signage is in one place. So the committee knows what's going on, whether it's, a proposed sign, whether it's in, being installed or in production or whatever. Because we thought that was sort of an important component of what we do, is making sure that pedestrians and motorists and cyclists have the, signage that's proper. And sort of a subset of that on number 4 is the maintenance of the signs. And this could be either its own strategy based on what entity is responsible for it. It could also fall under the sidewalk maintenance strategy if we wanted to do that, or we could just put it under number 3, which is sort of the umbrella signage. But I know that we've noticed and noted that some of the Cheryl lanes are coming up and need to be repaired. And so we thought that there needed to be some sort of oversight of the various signs and whether they have graffiti on them or whether they're starting to fade in the sun. And so we thought that that was another strategy that we should include in the work plan. The only other strategy that we sort of went back and forth on, which we can discuss as a committee, is whether to pursue the gas tax. There was discussion on both sides. One position was, well, gas is really cheap now, so maybe we should try to push through a gas tax. And the other side said, no, given the economic climate that we're in, we should just shelve that and not include it in the plan. So those are the comments that we had in terms of going forward with the strategic work plan. And with that, I would like to open it up to my fellow committee members for any sort of comments or suggestions.
Sorry about that. I forgot to take myself off mute. I see Committee Member Spencer's hand up. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Eisenstein. Actually, a lot of those comments and proposals blend right in with our very brief report. We didn't have much of a meeting of our subcommittee, but in terms of bringing in collaboration, I think we had a short list of partnering, such as Bike Santa Fe, the Conservation Trust, the police department, since they have a bike patrol and are involved in enforcement, and Parks and Recreations, Adopt a Trail. So that blends right in with our suggestions. As far as maintenance and signage, that also, I think we concur on that in terms of making sure that we have our signage up to date, that we have some idea of what signage we're going to be putting up, and also that the signage and markings are maintained. For example, right now, many of the sharrows on West and East Alameda are falling apart. In fact, on East Alameda, it's hard to know whether there ever were sharrows there. Where the river trail goes down, pardon me, losing my voice, from a standard multi-use path width to a sidewalk width, there's no indication that you no longer have an AASHTO compliant multi-use path. So it's not surprising that we've had some conflicts between pedestrians and bicyclists, because I don't think we're communicating to the bicyclists that basically the multi-use path by definition of a minimum width has ended. So I think all of that stuff should be rolled in together into the additional strategies and into the draft strategic work plan. Those are things we can keep track of, but also it puts the onus on the city to do its part in making sure that these facilities and the signage connected to them are maintained. So that's my spiel.
Yes, I did reference in the memo the report that you did.
Right.
So we kind of cross-referenced that and actually looked at some of the things that you suggested that we agreed on. So does anyone else have any questions? What we would like to do is move forward on the strategic plan and incorporate these strategies if everybody agrees.
So any other questions or comments from any of the committee members?
No, just thank you for your work on this.
Yeah. Do we have any consensus or discussion of the gas tax idea, or is that best to kick that can down the road? Gas can as it is.
Well, we had our discussion, we had, various comments. My personal feeling is that we probably should kick it down the road. I think we have a lot of other priorities and things that we can do as a committee right now. So that would be my sense, is not to have it as a strategy right now.
Yeah, my sense is it's probably a good idea, but it might put us in the crosshairs of an awful lot of people who would think that was a bad idea. So my sympathies are with something like that. I don't think it would drive people out of the city to buy gas, but I think the political baggage might be substantial. Don't know what Councilor Garcia thinks, since you're sitting in the governing body.
I think that's something that the governing body would have to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like it's not quite the time for BPAC or BTAC to take a stance on that, since it's not something that the city's dealing with in this particular moment.
Yeah. Given all the other trouble we have right now.
I mean, that wouldn't be something that we would initiate as BTAC. That would be something that we would advise on or comment on if it were already initiated. Sure. Is that correct, Councilor Garcia?
From my understanding, correct.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments or questions for Ms. Eisenstein? And if there are none, do we want to take action on the recommendations put forth by the subcommittee?
Do we want a motion to approve the Law and Policy Subcommittee's draft City of Santa Fe Advisory Committee's work plan additions and modifications? Would that be appropriate?
That would be an appropriate recommendation,
or
appropriate motion.
So I move that the BTAC approve the Law and Policy Subcommittee's draft City of Santa Fe Pedestrian Advisory Committee strategic work plan modifications and additions.
Okay, thank you, Committee Member Spencer. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Committee Member Tallman. Thank you for that. Do we have any discussion on the motion?
Do we want to add shelving the gas tax, or do we need a separate motion for that?
I think this, from my understanding, that is within all of the recommendations, because I thought this was, yeah, the recommendation was to take all the recommendations in the memo and move it forward. And
Right.
and mistake me if I'm wrong, I'd have to ask the motion maker.
Well, the only thing I said about the gas tax is I put it up for discussion. So we might want to specifically say that we want to remove it from the strategic plan at this time.
Do we need an amendment to the motion then?
You would need to amend your motion. Yes, Committee Member Spencer. And the second would have to be open to the amendment as well.
Okay, why don't they just restate the motion? I move that we approve the Law and Policy Subcommittees.
But Committee Member Spencer, it might be easier. Let's have you withdraw your motion and then the second can withdraw his and then you can restate. I think that would be the easiest for us for record keeping.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Withdraw my motion.
And I withdraw my second.
Okay, great. Now we're kind of starting at square one again, and then you can restate your motion.
Okay, I move that we approve the 2021 strategic work plan with the modifications and additions of the Law and Policy Subcommittee while removing language regarding a gasoline tax in the city.
And I'll second that.
Okay. We have a first and a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion on the floor? Feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and recognize. Committee Member Tillman. I think you might be on mute.
I was on mute. Who would do the work of making and upkeeping the website? Would that be something that would be passing on to the city?
Mr. Chair?
And if so, is that something the city is willing or interested in doing?
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, that's one of the projects early this year. And because of COVID, I was not able to push it through with the IT or the website developer of the city. And so when we were discussing how to do the website, I think it will be housed under Public Works, Engineering Division, Roadway and Trails. And I will start working with him again in January when I have a little bit of time, when I have a breather, because I am managing 10 projects at the moment, and being the staff liaison for BTAC, and we're really short staff at the moment. So I don't have enough time to work with the city's website developer, but come January, especially if we have a division director for engineering division, then I will have more time to work with developing the website for BTAC.
Okay, so you would smile upon that, including that.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the motion on the floor? We don't see any hands up. Can we get a roll call vote, Ms. Gorrio-Somas?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Member Eisenstein?
Yes.
Member Finger?
Yes.
Member Gabriel?
Yes.
Member Morlino?
Yes.
Member Redner?
Yes.
Member Serrano?
Yes.
Member Spencer?
Yes.
Member Tolman?
Yes.
Chair Garcia?
Yes.
Motion.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and move on to the next item, which is item D, seeking comments and suggestions on NMDOT's St. Francis St. Michael's Interchange Study Context Sensitive Public Involvement Plan. And with that, we have Ms. Glorioso Mas presenting on this. The floor is yours. Ramela, the mic is on mute.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So this is a NMDOT is seeking comments for this public involvement plan. So this is the public involvement plan for the project on, I'm looking at my notes here. This is the, so the Radian Consulting Group was asked to do a study of the St. Francis St. Michael's interchange study to address physical, operational, and safety deficiencies and to enhance pedestrian and bicycle connectivity through the intersection change area. So they are considering 5 alternatives: no build, signalized intersection, diamond interchange, ramp reconfiguration, and split bridge. However, this is not the focus of this study. The focus of this study is how to involve the public. And so this is what they're looking for. If BTAC has some comments on how they will involve the public, and we can just introduce the study for now, and maybe the members can comment on it come January for our January meeting, or if the members are ready to give their comments on how the public involvement plan is presented. If they're ready to give their comments, we can get the comments now. If the committee would be ready to give their comments in January, then we get the comments in January. So the public involvement plan really starts on page 34 of your packet, which is 3.2.1 public meetings. And that's the focus of this plan.
Okay, thank you so much, Ramela, for that presentation. Do we have any questions? I see Committee Member Tallman, your hand is up.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, what have you guys learned with your experience during COVID about what sort of things are most effective in terms of public involvement, or maybe not effective? Like, what sort of lessons maybe we should keep in mind as we consider this?
Is Mr. Chair, Member Tallman, is that a question for me, or what is the city's experience with public involvement?
I think you'd be able to answer it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Since COVID, we do Zoom meetings. For example, for this Harrison Road project, we will conduct a Zoom meeting on December 17 so the public can get engaged and comment on the conceptual plan of Harrison Road sidewalk and lighting improvement project. In my experience, very limited experience, there are very few people who attend Zoom meetings. And so it's not like if you remember, for example, Member Morlino attended the Arroyo Chamisos Crossing Project presentation in March, and there were so many people who attended that meeting. Because it's face-to-face, and maybe it's more controversial project compared to other projects that we had a public meeting. But that's our experience. Very few attend these Zoom meetings.
Okay, any other questions, Committee Member Tellman?
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to help.
Sure, absolutely. Eric, feel free.
Yeah, on the public engagement from NMDOT, what we're typically seeing is that they'll develop in sort of the COVID environment, they'll develop online videos and information that's packed into a bit of a website so that the public can go at their discretion to that, watch a video that describes the particular elements of the design. And then there's multiple avenues for them to comment, whether it's email, whether it's a voice call or so forth. That's typically what we're seeing. But in support of Ramella, what I could help out with is, I've been involved with this project and being aware of it for several years now, is to frame up some of the issues for Ramella to then pass on to you that would be deemed relevant, I think, to this committee, so that you're not going in just blindly, because there is a lot of context for this particular project. So I would be happy to do that for Ramella and for this committee if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you so much for offering that up, Eric. I appreciate it. Any other, sorry about that. I saw another hand up. I see Sky's hand still up. I thought there was somebody else's.
Judith is.
Yeah.
Okay, Judith, hand up. Go ahead. The floor is yours, Judith.
So I'm wondering about our specific role in this and how we might be able to work with some of those partners that we talked about before, because it seems like this project is such a big deal. Who doesn't go through that intersection, several times a week? And is there a way, once we have the content or figure out what it is we're going to share, to give multiple opportunities for people to weigh in through working with some of those partners? It seems like a really important time to get lots of community input. So I'm just wondering about that.
And so is that a question for Romella, or?
It's kind of a question for all of us. Like, how do we cultivate and take advantage of partnerships related to pedestrian and alternative transportation modes, and make sure that we go far and wide in helping the city to get input? So I guess I'm just putting it out to the group, like, how does that make sense, and how would we go about doing it?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Member
Ms.
Gabriel.
Glorioso Mas.
This study is the lead agency for this study is NMDOT. It's not the city of Santa Fe. So they just emailed. I think they emailed my department director for comments, and my department director said that this would be a good to ask the BTAC members' comments on this study or this public involvement plan. And if I may direct you to the page, I believe it's page 35 of your packet. They specifically identified what they're going to do. For example, for meeting notices, they will do it via mail, email, meeting notices, and or political signs, advertisements in Santa Fe, New Mexican newspaper, outreach and involvement techniques, etc. So so what they are looking for is, do you think the plan will work, or are there any suggestions to for engaging the public that they have not identified on this public involvement plan?
Yeah, So maybe I'm confused. I was wondering if we could help implement the community involvement somehow through our partnerships. Maybe assist with some of the things they've listed in the document, or do they just want feedback on what they're going to do?
They own, Mr. Chair, Member Gabrielle, they want your feedback. The NMDOT is the one going to implement this plan, this public involvement plan, not the city of Santa Fe.
Okay, that helps. That helps clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, committee member Gabrielle? Okay, committee member Spencer.
More of a comment than a question, but partly a question. We've seen a massive paradigm shift this year in terms of transportation and shopping and virtually every part of our lives in terms of shopping on the internet, in terms of people working from home. What is that information going to be incorporated into any future plans for road buildings? It's basically a road project. So aside from the fact that that document that we read didn't really have any numbers on numbers of accidents or level of service, it seems to assume the status quo in terms of how we live and how we get around. And I wonder if the public's going to be able to ask the kind of questions we need to ask in terms of what we need to build for the future, given the changes we've had this year in the way people work and shop. Again, to me, I'm a bit cynical, aside from the fact that it's explicit in the document that bicyclists, for example, were told, go ride somewhere else. You're not going to use St. Francis. We just, to me, this is business as usual in terms of road building and more capacity. And I'm a little bit put off by it. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, Member Spencer, I believe that would be, so when they study these alternatives more deeply, so the 5 alternatives like no build signalized intersection, that will be, I believe that should be a factor in evaluating all these 5 alternatives. And what they are looking for is how they can engage the public in evaluating these alternatives.
Okay. Yeah, as long as the discussion is open to new ideas, I think that's good.
Maybe we can email the NMDOT, the coordinator, and that's one of our comments or BTAC's comments, that this process should be transparent and the study should be transparent. Okay. And they should be, the engineers should be open to new ideas, especially this factor that we are working from home.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll second what Carl is saying, because the study kind of presumes that the problem to solve, or one of the problems that the project is going to solve, is a projected increase in traffic, and to facilitate more traffic, more vehicle traffic. And if we're trying to, like the city council resolved to do, become a carbon neutral city, or reduce our greenhouse gas impact, or have a long-term plan towards mode shift in the city, solving the problem of insufficient vehicle capacity by increasing capacity actually increases demand, or increases traffic volumes down the road. And so, I mean, if we kind of think about how we want to plan for traffic beyond bicycles and pedestrians, when you increase your capacity, you get increased volumes. And that's been very well studied and very well documented. So I think, you know, we should incorporate some acceptance or even welcome some level of congestion, because indeed it's congestion is about the only thing that actually leads to mode shift. And it's also a good sign of economic activity in that people are moving around. But I think sometimes as road engineers, we tend to look at congestion as a universal thing to be rid of. And it seems like, yeah, I mean, this might be a great way to solve that problem, but we should maybe question whether that's the problem we want to solve.
Any other comments on the agenda item?
If I may.
Yes, Eric.
Yeah, thanks. Just real quick. Between this significant project and the redesign of Cerritos Road going on as we speak, and I would like to comment on committee member Gabrielle's comments. First of all, I appreciate the NMDOT is reaching out to stakeholders to say, how can we do public engagement better? I think we could all tell them how they could do public engagement better, no offense. Secondly, is that to your point, committee member Gabrielle, a concerted, organized effort that is looking at building relationships as it relates to a comment and informing these projects cannot be underscored in terms of impactfulness. In my experience in watching, and I think Romello mentioned this, for a major project like this, it's very difficult for public engagement to actually tease out effective and informed citizens. It's often just kind of, Zoom, boom, it's done. So again, to your points, we would be happy to help facilitate. I cannot underscore a committed effort on behalf of the city, on behalf of the community, the citizens of the city, to provide input. And I'd like to think about it in the context of Cerritos Road being redesigned and this interchange being redesigned. When those were built in the 60s and so forth, this will impact generations of Santa Feans for generations to come. It's not like they're going to redesign this, and then maybe we'll fix something in 10 years. This is like a 40 or 50 or 60 or even longer year project. So I just wanted to underscore the importance, and how you may influence that is incredible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate the additional feedback. Any other comments? Ms. Gloriosa Mas, this didn't require action. It was just more information, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything.
Mr. Garcia, Councilor Garcia, is it okay if a member of the floor contributes something?
Sure, I'll go ahead and allow that if we don't take up too much time. Absolutely.
Okay, it's very quick. My name is Elena Kayak. I work for Santa Fe Public Schools, the facilities department, and I'm the Safe Routes to School liaison between the MPO, the county, the city, and the school district. And I'd like to offer up that we have a new public information officer who is wonderful. His name is Cody Donarski. And he uses social media far better than any of his predecessors. And if there are opportunities in the future where we can use our messaging, whether it's Facebook, our website, or the school marquees, to let people know that there are opportunities for public input, we would be willing to do that. I do have to say we miss opportunities just because we're not told or we're not communicated with as a school district. And there's so, we have 12,600 students and all those families connected to those students. And I think we have an opportunity to assist. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kayak. I appreciate you offering that assistance up. Any other comments from the committee members? Okay, hearing none, let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, which is item E. Santa Fe MPO call for project proposals, transportation improvements program funding for fiscal years 2022 through 2027. And that is Ms. Glorioso Mas again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I just wanted to inform the committee that there is a funding opportunity from NHPP and ST Surface Transportation Block Grant Program. And the projects that are eligible for this funding are listed on page 68 to 72 of your packet, which is chapter 6, and from page 76 to 80, which is chapter 7. We are, or the roadway and trails section are discussing about this for maybe 2 weeks now. And the deadline for application for this funding is on December 18. And we are thinking, we're kind of narrowed down to 3 projects that we would like to apply funding for. And the first one is the St. Michael's reconstruction project. The study alone is $500,000, but from study to planning and design through construction, it could be $18 million. The second project that we are thinking of applying for is the Arroyo Chamizo's crossing project. And the third one is the Jaguar Drive Road. We don't know at this moment or at this point in time if we are going to apply for funding for those 3 or for one of those projects, because the funding, as you all know, is limited, especially at this point in time. We have an economic depression, perhaps not recession, and the funding available perhaps is $25 million for 1 year for all District 5 areas. So if we apply for funding, which is December 18 deadline, we would like to apply for funding that we have a very, not a very high, but greater chance of funding or getting funding for a project. So I just want to share that with you.
Okay, thank you so much. Do we have any comments or questions on the matter?
This is Judith. I have a question.
Sure, Committee Member Bale.
So it wasn't clear to me. I couldn't see where the Arroyo Chamizo project is. Can you explain where that crossing is that you're talking about? What the project would be?
This is more of a alignment, road alignment. They would like to, hold on, Mr. Chair and Member Garcia. Member Gabriel. Member Gabriel, if you could please go to page 89 of the packet. There's Arroyo de los Chamizos crossing there. And it's an alternative study to extend Richards Avenue from its current southern terminus at Rodeo Road, north across the Arroyo Chamizo to Cerrillos Road. So this is we are just studying this project. What are the alternatives? And there was a public meeting in March, where Member Morlino and Mr. Rogers attended. There were a number of people who opposed these projects. There are a number of people who supported these projects, which is normal. In every project, there is opposition and people who support. So what this will, so the study, the phase A of the study is almost finished. And we're moving forward with phase B of this study, which may be January or February next year. And based on that study, then we will apply for the preliminary plan, design plan, funding through construction. And so this actually is not in the TIP or the MTP plan. This is not listed. This is not one of their priorities because this project is funded by the city of Santa Fe. So this was just thrown, you know, my department director said, oh, how about Arroyo de los Chamisos crossing? So none of these projects are, we have not made any decision if we are going to apply for one of these projects. But that is the project, Arroyo de los Chamisos crossing, and it's on page 89 of your packet.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't realize it was the Richards Road extension thing. Thanks a lot.
Committee member Redner.
Yeah, so this is just more a statement of my ignorance than anything else. But so I see like there's this grab bag of projects, you know, starting on page 68. And, you know, you have this whole 45 projects. How did you decide on these three as opposed to any of the other ones?
So I've been coordinating with SFMPO, and many of those projects are already funded. And so although we anticipate that the funding would not be enough to, for example, to construct the St. Michael's underpass underpass project, for example, the funding for that project is only 4.1 million, if I'm not mistaken. We anticipate that is not enough, but we cannot apply for this funding for that. We cannot apply for more funding under this funding opportunity because they are not eligible. So, I've been coordinating with the SFMPO in what project we are going to apply for, and we have not made any decision yet. And we met at from 4 to 5:30 today, and there is still no solution or so.
Well,
I just wanted to share it with you.
Right. No, I mean, the thing is that it looks like, I mean, as I look through these projects, I mean, some of them look like really useful and others seem a little bit, you know, superfluous, but how can we have input to like, or like, how do citizens have input to decide like, what's the one that's most important to do and what's, you know, how's that going to happen?
Yeah, Member Redner. So that is the role of the SFMPO, is to rank all these projects. And so there are a number of funding opportunities, but the criteria, we need to fit, or we need to find a project that fits the criteria of this funding. So for example, this funding, the priority is interstate roads and safety. So what projects that's in that list, and priority projects of SFMPO that that fits this funding opportunity. That's what we are trying to evaluate within, internally, the roadway and trails with the help of SFMPO.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Committee Member Redner. Any other questions or comments on the matter? I don't see anybody's hand up. So thank you so much, Ms. Glorioso Mas, for the presentation and update. Please do keep us informed. Next item on the agenda is item F, suggestions for making trails safer, and that is Committee Member Finger. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. For those of you who don't know, I was a railroad police officer, and when we got called for service by a train, we were given a milepost for a location, and we had to dig out our track charts and figure out what the street location was. So a couple of weeks ago, my wife and I were walking in the Frenchy Park area, and we ran across a woman who had injured herself. She had like a mono wheel skateboard type thing. And my wife's like, how would we know where to send, or where to bring the EMTs to, or where to bring the police to if there was a criminal? And so the suggestion would be to maybe mark the trails as to give someone who is in need of service a better way to transmit to emergency responders where they're at. In some trails, it's obvious, but in some areas it's not. So some suggestions would be adding, if there's going to be signage added, put it there. There's ways you can use stenciling right on the concrete or asphalt, where you would either use the street location would be good, because then you wouldn't have to have the emergency responders trying to pull out a map to get a milepost marker. But I think it's something for the future, something to put on the back burner, where we could put a plan together to where we would mark the cross street locations on the trails. So if there is a need for emergency medical or emergency services from law enforcement, they would have a better location to get to the person in need quicker. So that's about all I got. Something, and you know, milepost markers, you could do it from like the city center out, but I would think that cross street location, either stenciled or signs. There's a couple of them on the trail in the Frenchy Park area where the cross street is marked, but not in all the locations. So that would, you know, and then there's a bunch of other trails in, I'm sorry, in the city that aren't marked at all. I live near Capitol High School, and we have a asphalt trail that runs through the Chamiso Arroyo, and it's unless you know the area, you have no clue where you're at. If you're not from the area and you decide to park at Swan Park or on Jaguar and walk that trail or bike that trail. So that's my suggestion, sir.
Thank you, Committee Member Finger. I really appreciate it. I think that's a good suggestion. Any comments or questions from our fellow committee members?
Mr. Chair, may I speak?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there is an overlap of, let's call it, duties and responsibilities of BTAC members and Parks and Recreation. So signage will fall on maintenance, not really construction of trails, trail construction. So if you remember in the past, Mr. Richard Thompson usually attended our meetings because he's the division director of Parks and Recreation. Although the Parks and Recreation department has been split or divided, and the parks went under Public Works, and the recreation is in Community Services Department. But it's not under our purview, but what we can do is perhaps that partnership, that we can partner with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee and give them our suggestions or BTAC suggestions of how to improve the signage, for example, on trails.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification on that, Ms. Gloria Somas. Any other comments or questions from committee members? Committee member Spence.
Yes, on the rural trails, say the Lake Sierra trails, there are trail markers between various segments of trails. So there's something analogous to what Mr. Finger is suggesting. So if you're, say, on a trail between trail marker 1 and 5, for example, it gives an approximate location. So, I mean, if you're in an area where there's a long distance between cross streets, then maybe some absolute system of markers, say 1 through X, as Mr. Finger suggested, out from one end of the trail would be sort of content neutral and give people a better idea of, if they weren't familiar with the roads, where exactly they were, because they just say, okay, I'm between 5 and 6. So if we're looking for something that would work better in an emergency, that might actually be a better idea than relying on someone to know what roads they're on, especially if they're a tourist. So I like that idea. And as far as whether we fall under Parks and Recs or somewhere else, I hope we aren't being stovepiped here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Committee Member Spence. So I'll go back to Committee Member Finger and then Committee Member Eisenstein.
I've walked some trails where it states trail numbers and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I think if you were to call 911 and get the Santa Fe County dispatcher, who dispatches for pretty much everybody, fire and police, they're not going to have a clue where you're at unless they pull out a map. Like I said at the beginning of my statement, I had to have track charts in my squad car, so I knew exactly where that train was or where that engineer was calling in for assistance, so I could find the street location. So if that's what we rely on, we have to make sure that the emergency responders, the call takers, have the ability to know where that location is. So it's a real spider web type thing, but that's if they do have that already, that's great. I don't know that. So that's it, sir.
Okay, thank you, Committee Member Finger. Committee Member Eisenstein and then Committee Member Tallman.
Yeah, just a quick comment that this has been done in Dallas on the trails, and Dallas has a number of different trails. And so there are markers that say you're on the White Rock Trail at a certain point, or you're on the Katy Trail, or you're on the Santa Fe Trail. And so it's been a successful project in Dallas. So just wanted to make that comment.
Okay, thank you so much. Committee Member Tallman.
Yeah, Bruce, I'm not sure if I see any greater utility to like putting mile markers or anything along the trails more than marking maybe what the cross streets are.
Yeah, cross streets are fine. That's preferable, actually.
You only access
having a street location would be preferable, because then the emergency responders don't have to look at a map to try to figure out where you're talking about. So that's my point. Is and you could use stenciling. I mean, the the Public Works, who's in charge of the trails now, could create, you know, stenciling to put right on the trail. You know, if it's a concrete trail, you spray paint a square black palette and then spray the street name in white. And then if it, in the future, if it gets graffitiized or worn out, they can just redo it. Or signage would be a little more. But, you know, I agree with you, Sky, is that, yeah, mile markers are, you have to have too many other things involved there for the emergency responders to get to that location quickly if it's needed. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other comments on the matter? So Ms. Glorioso Mas, can we look into I guess the division of duties, and if we can work with the parks? It would be parks. It would be parks, not recreation.
Mr. Thompson just retired. He retired 2 or 3 months ago, and I don't know if there is a maybe Melissa McDonald has replaced him. I'm not quite sure. But do you wish? Does BTAC wish to invite her to attend the January meeting, and so we can discuss it with her, because it's not in roadway and trails. Trails maintenance always is with Parks and Recreation. Mm-hmm. And their advisory committee deals with those signage, wayfinding on trails, etiquette signs on trails.
Yeah, we can chat and see if we can invite Ms. McDonald to the next meeting.
Will do, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other comments on the matter before we go to move on to the next agenda item? Don't see any, so let's go ahead and move on to, and thank you, Mr. Finger, Committee Member Finger, for bringing this up. Last item on the action list is roadway and trails projects update, fiscal year 2021, 2022, and this is Ms. Glorioso Mas. So the floor is yours.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I just wanted to share with you the active projects of roadway and trails, because in the past, BTAC members ask for update of our projects. I think at least twice a year, but we have not meeting regularly for the past months. So these are our active projects. And as you can see, there are a number of projects that are not fully funded, but we are working on all those projects. Those are all active projects.
Okay.
If there are any questions, I can answer
Sure.
those.
Yeah, absolutely. Any comments or questions from committee members? I don't see any hands up. Let me just make sure. Okay, I don't see any, but given that you're with us every month, should there have any questions, I'm sure we can bring them back forth to you. So thank you for this list. I really appreciate this.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I don't see any other comments or questions. We'll go ahead and move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is subcommittee communications. Planning and Funding Subcommittee, Committee Member Tallman.
Yeah, no communications at this time. We didn't
Okay.
meet, so we're gonna meet here in the interim and have something to report out next month.
Great, thank you. Next item is Promotion Education Programming Subcommittee, Committee Member Spencer.
A lot of what we talked about, we incorporated into the earlier discussion of the the other side, the law subcommittee. The one other major item is I did talk to KSFR, Tom Trowbridge, who runs the morning show, and he has invited us in terms of education and promotion to come on and do a wake-up call with him. So I have not scheduled that yet. It goes from 8 to 9, Monday through Friday. I'll happy to go on. I don't know if we have to worry about a quorum, but it would be a Zoom meeting, so several of us could participate. So if folks want to do that, I think it'd be great. I think Rob already mentioned that he was interested. So I guess one or two other, well, two other people, I guess, would be a sub-quorum. Whoever wants to be involved. Do people have time constraints? I'm free Mondays and Fridays and can be free any other day of the week, as long as I tell my paying job that I'm not going to be there. So I didn't really have an agenda right now other than what sort of things we're currently working on and what we see as some of the major things coming up for bicycling and walking, including the city is studying and in the process of renaming and categorizing us as to what we're doing and what our scope of business is. So is anybody else interested right now other than Rob, who's already expressed an interest in going on the air with me? And is there anything the chair or the city staff wants us to avoid or give us any ground rules before we go on the air and blow anything up?
I would be interested in going on with you.
For the city, essentially.
I'll defer right now at the moment to Ms. Glorioso Mas to any staff concerns or any. I want to, you know, as committee member Spencer mentioned, just want to ensure that we're not in violation of a rolling quorum. I do want to encourage that we get out and tell folks in the community about the great work that BTAC is doing. So thank you for putting this opportunity together, committee member Spencer. With that, I just want to see in regards to the question, what other committee members might be interested. And then I think we could potentially go from there and determine what the makeup of that representation body would look like, and then set the next steps. So with that, I think I saw committee member Tallman raising a hand for interest. Any other members? Let's see.
Looks like
committee
Bruce.
member Finger. Okay, so and then you had mentioned committee member Morlino. So Romello, how much we can have 4 folks represented? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair, 4 BTAC members and
excuse me.
A number. If there are subcommittee members who are not BTAC members, they can join this meeting. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm definitely open to, I mean, I don't need to be present on this call. I don't feel I fully entrust in the expertise of the committee. So with that being said, if we want to have committee member Spencer, committee member Finger, committee member Tallman, and committee member Morlino, that would have us right at that magic number where we're not at rolling quorum. We can work to have BTAC represented and have you all shine the spotlight on the great committee and the work that's being produced by you all. With that being said, Romella, do you want to work with committee member Spencer and we'll call it the radio team to organize and get this promotion out?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Member Spencer is an expert. He doesn't.
Okay, great. Great. And you know, the only thing I would ask is to definitely, at least at minimum, let me know when it's on. That way I can help to, you know, inform the community about that, about the interview, and as well inform the other committee members. That way they can tune in and listen to Mr. Trowbridge's radio show. From what I understand, if I'm not mistaken, Cal, people can listen to it online too. So if we can pump this out far and wide. I mean, anybody that might have internet access can listen in. So I think this is a great opportunity for us.
Yes,
So,
it's both on the air and on the internet. In fact, at our house, possibly because where we live up near the Vargas, I get it far better on the internet than I do over the airwaves. Whereas when I lived in Los Alamos, it was loud and clear. So I'll call Tom tomorrow. He's probably gone to bed now since he has to be there pretty early, and ask for a date and make sure that we can all make it. Again, if anyone has any restrictions as when they can't or what days they are unavailable, please email me tonight. So I'll let them know what days of the week work best for us. Because I know some of us still have paying jobs.
Okay, great. Well, good luck. Definitely look forward to hearing you guys over the radio airwaves, whether it be digital or, old school FM radio frequencies. But thank you again for putting this together, committee member Spencer.
Sure, thank you.
And with that, any other comments, promotion, education, programming subcommittee?
No, I think that's good for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Next agenda item, matters from staff. Ms. Gloria Somas, any matters from your end?
Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to update the committee on the request of Member Redner on repavement of Bachman Road and Galisteo Street. So we received the cost estimate for repaving Bachman Road, sections of Bachman Road, and it's $630,000. And so we're going to consider it for an IFCIP, meaning impact fees, capital improvement project funding for next year. However, the Galisteo Street from Cordova to Paseo de Peralta, there's a problem because the road is cement. It's a cemented road.
Exactly.
It's not an asphalt road. So, but we're not giving up. We're going to maybe get some help from other municipalities who have experience with cement road and how to maintain and how to repave cemented roads. With Bishop's Lodge Road, so the SFMPO Technical Coordinating Committee voted on November 16 to amend the 2020-2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan to include Bishop's Lodge Road reconstruction project within the list of fiscally constrained projects. And in your packet, it's those projects are listed from pages 76 to 80. And fiscally constrained project means these are regional roadway projects that are reasonably expected to be funded within the next 25 years. So Bishop's Road is in that category. So what it does is we can apply for funding for this project. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gloria Somas. Matters from the committee. Do any committee members have any matters they would like to bring to the rest of the committee's attention? Committee member Spencer.
Just a brief story. I've been trying to ride the trails more on the bicycle just to get a better sense of them since I'm on this committee. I was headed back home up the rail trail on Monday and crossing the at-grade crossing at St. Michael's. I made it across in heavy traffic without too much trouble. The person behind me was a man in a motorized wheelchair, and him getting across that street during busy traffic probably took more courage than anything I've ever done. So we do need these facilities. So just an editorial comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, committee member Spencer. Any other comments from the committee? I see a subcommittee member's hand up. I'll go ahead and allow it this time, but this agenda item is solely for matters from the committee. Ms. Wellington.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was reading an article in the paper about 3 members of the Public Safety Committee that have recently resigned, and the most recent one was the, I think, reason for the article. And at the bottom of the article, it said they believed that one of the spaces was going to be filled by a member from the Bike and Trail Advisory Committee. And I wonder what action or what's going on with that.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Wellington. So at our previous meeting, I think if I'm not mistaken, our November meeting, the committee recommended that committee member Finger take that position.
Oh, okay.
So we're waiting on the next steps for that. Any other questions from or comments from the matters from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Matters from the chair. Well, first and foremost, thank you all for your participation. First year under my belt as the BTAC chair, definitely didn't go as I planned. I didn't anticipate us having to meet in person, I think twice, if I'm not mistaken, twice, and virtual the remainder of the year, which I find disappointing in the sense I want us all to be together. The virtual format works for now. It keeps us all safe, but I look forward to the time when we're all together in the same room. We can have constructive conversations and also build those personal relationships. I think that's beneficial for us. We build that community component when we meet in person, and it's so much harder to build when we're doing it virtually. So thank you all for that. Definitely look forward to working with you all next year and beyond. Lots of stuff in the works. As I was mentioning earlier, our committee, our agendas are packed because we've got a lot of work ahead of us. And I thank you all for taking on that work and all the work that you're getting done. It's not a light lift, but we're getting it done and we're accomplishing a lot. So thank you all. I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday season, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Won't be seeing everybody, meeting with everybody till 2021. Please be safe. As we all know, the COVID epidemic has a strong grip on our community right now. We all need to be safe and do our part to keep each other safe. So with that, please take care. I look forward to seeing everybody in our next meeting, which will be January 14th, 2021. And I'm like I said, looking forward to everything that we're going to be accomplishing in 2021 together. With that, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.